Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Today is Monday, September 30th, 2024. And if today is not that date, then you are watching a replay. All right, sorry about your luck, but enjoy this episode anyways. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast, and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. This show is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association. I'm your host, Ryan Stacey. I'm a licensed private investigator and as the director of investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. I use my investigative skills to dive headfirst into the hidden mysteries of UFOs, paranormal activity, and hidden phenomena. Today, on Truth and Reconciliation Day, we stand in solidarity by wearing orange to honor the children and survivors of residential schools, their families, and communities. At TESA, we reflect on the enduring impact of these schools and commit to learning and sharing the truths of this darker chapter in history to foster healing and understanding. That does apply to the work that we are doing here. I don't want to take away from the day, but at some point in the future, I'll let you know what I really know about some of these things when I'm not on radio. So anyways, I hope you're all having a good day. Let's get into the TESA news and updates.
TESA news and updates.
All right, just saw the comments there. Hello, Chris. Chris calls me Brother Hollywood. Yes, I am known as Brother Hollywood within the Masons because I do dress up and I do happen to play a pretty good, put on a good three-piece suit. Got the cane, got a fedora, got it all jazzed up, briefcase and all. And I've been nicknamed Brother Hollywood for those who don't know that. Thank you, Chris. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you. Everybody else in the comments, say hello. Let me know you're here. Don't be a creep. All right. All right. So the updates. That's funny. All right. What's funny? Brother Hollywood? Probably. Yeah. Hey, Chris, you know what the difference is between me and you? I make that suit look good. Boom. All right. Let's go. So today for updates, tomorrow, tune in 7 p.m. Eastern time. See Danny Whitson talking to Dick Larson. They'll be talking about meditation, practical spirituality, and ageless wisdom teaching. I would like to know how that works. Cool. All right, so tune in 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're doing a bang-out job. And they got, I think, over 110,000 average viewers, so they're doing quite well. So please continue to tune in. Bruno, I don't know how to say your last name. Bruno. Hello from Vancouver. Thank you for tuning in. What other updates do we have? We don't have too much. EA did happen. I understand there have been some technical difficulty with getting in. We are looking at alternative ways of doing that. Unfortunately, the alternative ways of doing that may remove the ability to connect virtually. We might have to actually do this the old-fashioned way and do it in person. But I'm waiting to get more details on what we want to do, find a place and see if we can set up some hubs, which means I'll have to set up a hub in my area, and every other member of TESA will be encouraged to do the same if they have time and it's within their, as we say in masonry, within their cable toe, so within their length, their ability to do so. Business and family, all that stuff comes first. Probably family before business if you can. On the other side of things, CE5, that is in the works. I've just been busy with everything else, and I sound like a broken record, but I genuinely, truly am a man of many hats. But I'm working on shuffling the decks quite a bit to get to accept some help where it comes in, and hopefully be able to hammer out these important things that we want to get out. The take home for the CE5 stuff is I do believe we agreed on a name. I'm not going to say that. I say exactly what the name is. But I think we all said we liked 5, so maybe I'll play around with that, and then we'll go from there. Once we get a title, we can make the announcements and stuff like that too. I'm also working on some stuff for Jillian. So Jillian is a new member of TESA. We just haven't announced it yet. Still a few things that we got to hash out in the background before we do that. But we got some time because I saw that she booked for the podcast in November. I thought it was coming up quicker than that. So, I was able to pump the brakes on that today, realizing I got a little bit more time on that, but it is coming. The other thing for updates, really, it kind of segues into the program today, which is aerial activity. So let me click on that.
Aerial activity, sensory display.
All right. So, and for those of you that get the news through other means, not on Facebook or any other social media, you would have noticed that there was a recent CTV article about an image of this Yukon balloon or object that was shot down. So for those of you who might forget, I had assisted in bringing this event to life. I got the declassified document and whatnot, but Daniel Otis did take it one step further. He was able to get an image because he knew the image existed because he got a tip from the inside, which is absolutely awesome. Probably shouldn't have said that, but I don't know. That's his karma, not mine. It's what I was told, what I heard. It's either true or not true. Didn't come from him, so I'll have to verify that. But either way, he was able to get this image. Knew it existed. He wouldn't let me see it, rightfully so. Wanted to wait for the article because he didn't want me to scoop it. But the update is that I am working on an article explaining what I think this might be and my reasons behind it. All right. Yes, it's a UAP. Yes, it's a UFO by technicality. But if you look at other images of this Chinese spy balloon phenomenon, you can see characteristics that look very, very similar to what we have here. Now, it does look a little bit different. Can't confirm that until I finish my report. But this is definitely an interesting thing. Not aliens, nothing to be concerned of, other than these balloons. If they came from China, then that's a whole different ball game, and this is a different podcast, so we're not going to get into that. All right. So the other. Yeah, this is more of a spiritual side of things. Allegedly, there is going to be a sighting of two moons. I've been hearing about this. I don't know if this image is actually a legitimate one in terms of the ones that we've been hearing about that's coming on this new eclipse on the 2nd. For those of you who are in astrology and alchemy, like myself, hermetic sciences and things like that, those mean things, especially when you have lodge meetings and things like that during these times. The interesting thing I kind of want to point out in the comments is somebody had asked, did you take this photo? Because that's a valid question. And the person had responded. The typical one is, I didn't, but a friend did. You know, this is hard. This is hard when you post stuff because it's like, well, friend posted it and then they posted it and then they shared it. Then it gets compressed and then it gets changed and then it gets altered. And then the metadata or the information that helps me at this point or any other investigation is lost. So I just want to kind of use this as another example that, keep the original document if you have it. But this is more than likely a refraction in the light, depending on what we're seeing here. But if there are two moons, I would like to see it. But we'll talk about all that esoteric stuff near the end if we have time. Okay, so this is the case of today, 2019CO172. The C is an indicator that this is a KDOR report. This is actually a declassified case that I had worked on through the Canadian government, or not with or for, but like through the information I received. It wasn't a civilian case. This was reported by a pilot, and this is the case that we're going to work on today. And this, for those just tuning in, this is in Manitoba. So we'll zoom in, get an idea of where the event occurred. Go to that. All right. I like this case because this was my first declassified document that I've ever received. Ever. All right. So east of Paint Lake, Manitoba, Canada, January 6, 2019. This is going to look a little different because it's not an experiential report. This is a declassified report from the Canadian government. This is a civilian aviation daily occurrence report system. That's what KDORS is. Wrong. I zoomed in on the wrong menu. Hold on. Come on now. These information sheets are available to the public for those who know where to get them and how to subscribe to them and all these other things. But finding this information is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Every once in a while you get lucky and you see something in these. And what they normally do is they report bird strikes or problems on the plane, when police are called, fireworks, a whole bunch of normal accidents and incidents that happen in aviation as part of protecting the airspace. But every once in a while you get something. And this particular one was classified. Event information is in this category called weather balloon, meteor, rocket, or service UFO. And the service is a term, civilian. I got to remember what that is. I can't say it. I can never remember it. I know what the document is. Yeah, communications instructions reporting vital intelligence. So this has to do with what that means is North America is involved. We'll put it that way. So Canada is required to fill out this form, which is a transfer form or an information sharing form that gets given to us as the Canadian public when we ask for it, but it's also designed to share with the United States and the other governing bodies that are involved in the Five Eyes and all that other stuff. All right. So I don't have time to really explain in the details into this, but there is common knowledge, or there should be common knowledge, that Canada passes information on to the American government and the American government will seal it. Okay. We get disclosure here in Canada. It might get locked up in the States. That's why there's a difference in the way that information comes out. But we are actively working to change that. Case in point, when Otis was publishing that article about that image, it was, I believe it was the United States that was concerned about releasing it. And Canada said, no, we're going to release it because it's not a threat. So there's a difference there. So there's some information, FYI, on how this is working, or at least how it's unfolding. So this will give a bunch of information that's traceable. All right. There's the KDOR number. This is measuring certain things, occurrence time. So it's in Zulu, which is a universal time to help with the dates and whatnot. Nighttime, the occurrence location. So this will be the closest airport or aerodrome, depending on the situation. The province, the country, who reported it by. So NAV Canada, Manitoba, Canada, for those on radio, forgot you can't see this. This is in Thompson, Manitoba. And then it gets classified. And then there's an AOR, Aviation Occurrence Details Report. You can request this information as well, and there's no number for the TSP, so they didn't do anything. That's the Transportation Safety Board. Then they classed it a weather balloon, meteor, rocket, or service/UFO. So this doesn't mean it's a UFO, but sometimes weather balloons or meteors or rockets are in it. So this becomes interesting. All right. Then we just get this 2019-02-11, so February 11th, a Vanguard Air Care Incorporated Beach 200, and that's its tail sign, from South Indian Lake, Manitoba to Thompson, Manitoba, reported that an inexplicable bright light followed them from this airport to that airport at the same altitude and speed. No aircraft were reported in their vicinity. So that alone is an interesting thing, because this is coming from a pilot. This is coming from somebody at a high altitude. This is somebody that's in a plane seeing things. Okay, no aircraft were reported in the vicinity, so that becomes an issue, right? And it becomes a safety thing. Now, that doesn't mean it's not a drone. It just means it wasn't reported, and that's their duty to make this thing. That's all the information we had. So then I do an information request because I wanted to figure this out. I did a lot of freedom of information requests in the past. This is a recreation of what it looked like according to the pilot. I will share that with you in a minute. So this was basically my first kick at the can at trying to get a declassified document from the government, and it's what kind of blew everything open for me. February 11, 2019. So this is just a copy and paste of what was written up there, so it becomes searchable in the website. Then here's the declassified document. So let me zoom out here. This particular document has my writing on it because I was trying to figure this all out. Again, it was my first one. In hindsight, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with these things. Was more so concerned that I had them and why I had them. I'm going to read them in detail here. I just want to see what's all down here. Okay, so I still have the data here. Okay, so this report is what I got in response to a Freedom of Information request. For those of you that are new to this, this is quite common. Those of you who've been following along, we get a lot of these documents all the time, and we need to review them and try to make sense of it. This particular one, unclassified, okay, so, and this came from the 21 Aerospace Control and Warning Squadron, AC&W Squadron, okay, which is basically NORAD. Hornell Heights, yeah, that's in NORAD. That's in North Bay, NORAD. Communication instructions for reporting vital intelligence, so that's service report. So I just kind of dissected a little bit of what I was understanding here. So no threat service report. So I have my comments here. So would one need to know what the object is in order to determine the level of threat? That's what I was thinking. If they consider it no threat, then they must know what it is, or it's no longer there. Okay, that's my interpretation of that. This document then gives information. So here's an example of what kind of data that they collect. Okay, this is the report that gets filled out. Of course, you have the handwriting of the pilot who did it, and then we have to translate it in such a way. So if you are familiar with military lingo and things like that, you can translate some of these things. But if you're not, it becomes difficult. So when I made my my reports here, the two books that I have there, I go into detail to explain to you what these things mean and why it's important. Okay. So, what do we got here? So, what did I say? How likely to see people in flight? Oh yeah, there's just a comment here. So these are the coordinates that was given. Manitoba, Canada. I was able to figure that out. That's why I was able to put the pinpoint in the map, because we had the kilometers. So that information wouldn't have become available if I didn't ask for it. This is all they give to the public. If you don't ask, you don't get it. Okay? You need to ask. And need to be and ask the right people the right thing. You got to get it to the right department. I can also teach you how to do these if you guys want to do them on your own. You have to subscribe to my Patreon, though. That's one of the offers I have on my Patreon. If you become a member and you need help with these things, I will help you. Southbound parallel TV. So this was also an explanation of the speed, right? So it was in knots, so I had to convert that to kilometers per hour, because that's what I work with. I'm not a pilot, so I don't care for knots. But bright light, time, parallel. So this is just information. Then here I was trying to recreate the event based on how it was explained. All right, so this is the plane. These are the wings, 90-degree angle. Above, there's the object, allegedly, what was being seen. Then it goes into the details, all these things. I put things down here to read, just to show you as an example, but I'm just skimming through here to give you guys time to see what they measure. Just like any report, if they don't have the information, it may not be available. NA could be not available or not applicable. All this stuff is very, very important to kind of help understand what these things are. And then, of course, at the end of the document, Montreal Center call with service report from 2300 Zulu. Pilot reported oscillating vertical red, green, and white lights. Okay, so oscillating, which is moving, and it's vertical, not horizontal. This is a vertical oscillation. Red or green, white lights. No aircraft within 50 nautical miles ahead of the aircraft. -8. Call sign from Quebec to SEP Isles. No further information. Do advised. And my question is that a warning? Do advised. FYI. So that's it. That's the information that I got. Now it says event was considered non-threatening. Aircraft speed was 425 kilometers per hour. Aircraft was heading 290. So that's the direction in which it was moving. Object was first noticed at the 90 degrees position within the plane, so above. Object was described as red, green, and white lights oscillating up and down very quickly. And 21 squadron could not identify the object. Okay, doesn't mean it's a UFO. Doesn't mean it's aliens. This is just what was seen. It could be atmospheric stuff. We don't know. Okay, but the government went out, they looked at it, and they did something about it. This is part of the CSIS. This is a declassified document. This document is explained in my 2020 version of the report. If you guys do want to see the details of that, I want to. Marty Kingshot, thank you for the like. Thanks for tuning in. Hello. Let me just see if I have this here. Yeah, actually, it's right here in this book. So if you guys haven't gotten this book yet in the 2020 version, you can find that on Amazon. But I go into detail. Let me see here if I have it. Because I like to recreate these events. I like to, it paints a better picture when you actually understand what's going on. So here we see that the pilots had responded, but these are the aircraft in which that responded to it, right? So this is information that is relevant. We have different types of aircraft that you could send out to something like this, but that seems a little heavy. That's in my opinion. Then you have the flight traffic and all this other stuff. So I do break these things down in great detail. If you really want to know how the work is, the website essentially, and I do explain these abbreviations and details in this report. Essentially, it's just a landing place to put everything together. Okay, Lisa, thanks for the like or the love. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, so back to this. Oops, hit the wrong button again. Declassified documents. So 2019 number of witnesses was 1. The event date was January 6th. Here's another thing too. So this event occurred on the 6th of January 2019. But the KDOR's report didn't come in until February 11th. So there was some time that the government had this information prior to releasing this little bit to the public. They have to release something because if the pilot were to tell somebody and not actually, or to verify and fact check whether or not his or her complaint was reported or taken seriously, this is something that they can reference because it's information that needs to go out to all pilots as a safety. So that's an interesting thought that I have. 11 p.m. Universal time code. Duration was 3 minutes. Happened at night. Isolated event. Flight level through investigation was 23,000 feet. All right, so that's within a normal range, but I don't know if that's normal for drones. Number of objects were 3 because there's 3 lights. They were oscillating. We do not have any evidence that suggests that they are the same object. Right? They could be 3. They could be 1. We don't know. Category is UFO, unidentified flying object, because the information within those reports suggesting a machine. Keyword was a bright light. Now, those lights could very well be attached to a machine. We don't know. Okay. NORAD has previously reported no, because third party involved was NORAD. ATI was requested. ATI received, yes. And records found, yes. Evidence type, documentary. Evidence rating is 7. So let's go and look at the ultra-spectrum classification system. So you go to investigations. Let's bring that back up. As a learning curve or a learning tool. So we're rating this at level 7 evidence. And that is one of the above in government documentation. So the original media and drawings, original video, original photo only, drawing only, third party or non-original material, no evidence at all in autoclip. So this is a level 7 simply because it's government documentation. Level 7. Okay, to make this a level 8, government documentation with original media and drawings. If they were to provide me a picture, that would be good. A level 8 would have been that the fact that we got a piece of evidence from the government that Daniel Otis got from the CTV report, that's technically a level 8 because it's government. It's government, and it has the original media and drawings, right? That is the best piece of evidence we have, but that's a drone or a Chinese spy balloon attaching the satellite, allegedly, right? That's what most of us think it looks like. We're still waiting on some information. I'm still waiting on some questions to come back so I can write my article because I've asked my own questions. But that's as good as you can really get. We need something like that of the extraterrestrial, if it does exist. We don't know. Not at this point, anyways. Categorized as sensory display, aerial activity, okay, subtype 2, right, machine, and then UAP. So kind of go back and forth because the aircraft category UFO is what was chosen by the Canadian government. So that's what that reflects. Our classification system, we're calling it a UAP because of the lights. It's unidentified because we don't know what it is. An extreme close experience. And of course, it was uninvited. Pilot would not do that. Okay. And that is that case. So we'll probably got time to do more. It's good. Any questions from you guys? Any comments, feedbacks, anything you want to explain a little further? Let me know. Please and thank you. If you guys got a specific topic you want me to ramble about, please let me know. This is your show. All right, moving on. So, in the next case, moving towards the west, I guess. Do we want to move that way? I don't really know. Yeah, we'll go up this way. RCMP UFO report strange object striking Clan Lake. We can talk about that one. And we could also talk about two lights. Let's do this one first. Yellowknife. All right. So that's still within the area aerial activity bracket. And this is in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. We have air traffic control audio. Pilot reports unusual lights over northern Canada on January 30th, 2023. So we were able to find audio from the pilot. There's certain places you can retrieve that from, but you got to listen and you got to grab it. You got to know, you have to have information. So when we get tipped by our sources and we know that something happened internally, and we do have sources from the well, I would say government sources, but we do have some civilians that do like to provide us information in many different ways, shapes, and forms. And then we get this, then we go to these locations, we find the evidence of it, and then we do what we do with it. We have to know, we have to be tipped, we have to know this information. Otherwise, we don't have the resources to continually listen to the radio all the time, or the air traffic control. So I really want to shout out to all those who do provide these hints and these tips when they hear stuff, because then we can ask the government specifically for what they know. So on January 30th, 2023, at approximately 06:15 Zulu, a Canadian North flight from Fort McMurray, Atlanta to Yellowknife, Northwest Territories reported, quote, two white lights moving in a circular pattern, end quote, as they approached their destination. In the dark, their report first appeared to Transport Canada's online aviation incident database. The audio recording of this conversation with air traffic controllers in Yellowknife was taken from liveatc.net, so that's where you can find it. For more details, see this report and this report. The audio clip has been edited for length. Okay, so this was a copy and paste, and I believe this was found by Otis as well. I think Otis got this one. Nope, that one's mine. Okay, you always got to give credit where credit's due. All right, always give credit where credit is due. Never take credit for somebody else's work. All right, so here's a transcript. You could click on this. You could listen to the audio. You can get their tone. You can get their hear and get a sense of credibility from their voice. But we've transcribed it so that way it can be understood. So I'm going to read this out for radio because I can't play the video because the audio doesn't actually carry through with StreamYard. All right, so tower, it's Arctic 5071, Arctic 507, Yellowknife Radio. Good evening, good evening. Just wondering, do you got two planes that are just to the east of your field doing circuits or maneuvers? It's hard to tell who's going back and forth, but negative, I have no report traffic in the area. Do you have a visual on something? Response is, yeah. We're looking at 2 lights dancing around here to the east of your field. They're above us about, I don't know what. We're not seeing them on TCAS, but we can see the lights moving around. I don't have anything on the radar either. Let me talk to Center. Arctic 507. So Yellowknife Radio is inaudible. It says, go ahead. Hey, Center doesn't have anything about any movement in the area, so I'm really wondering what you're seeing there. Yeah, so are we. Have you said they're over your position? Oh, they're above us. We're in an inaudible 12,000 feet. We're 30 miles back from your field over the lake, and yeah, we're seeing them just to the east of the city by maybe 20, 30 miles, but they were above us. We saw them when we were going through 20,000 feet. They look somewhat parallel for altitude. All right, I'm trying to look. I don't see them from the ground here. Well, I'll keep an eye out. I'll talk with Center again. Yeah, no worries. They're not at risk to us. We just to know. Just like to know what it is, what it was. If you guys had a ping on the radar, no, we got nothing. That's quite strange. Do you guys want in blank advisory? Yeah, sure, might as well. We're visual runway 34 direct at this time. So it just continues to go on like that. I don't want to keep reading it because there's no pauses. Okay, but you get the gist of it. Go back. I'll put this link in the comments below so you guys can actually listen to the audio. It's on the website. Excuse me. It is on the website there. But this is a good piece of information, good piece of evidence, because it's something from the government, right? You can actually use this. So this would be rated as a level 8, government documentation with original media and drawings. So original media in this case would be the audio file. All right, this is good. We got a few of these. Okay. So that's that one. If you guys are interested in that, so that one happened there. Then if we were to continue with this one, RCMP UFO report strange object striking Clan Lake. So this happened in 1960. This is the first report. There's a few that need to be added to the database. This is a declassified Royal Canadian Mounted Police report. Okay. It's been transcribed here as well. There are several reports. Probably don't have time to get into all 3 of those, so I think we're going to make that the episode next week, because then I can get into all of those reports. Let me see what I can find in the area here. This one here is just indicating the exact location where Trudeau, I believe, took the order to allow, excuse me. Yeah, so that's at the Alaskan border. So the U.S. jet shoots down flying object over Canada. So this is just to put it in the record. You know, Justin Trudeau did have a Twitter or X post that explained his actions on that, and we kind of had this kind of put together to keep track of this event. So there is a history of this information, and these things here are all starting to come together here, that our airspace may not be safe, but it's not extraterrestrials. This is government. This is, you know, other countries. This is invasion. There's a bunch of bad things wrong with this, but they're not relevant to our conversation. So you can check that out. So there's information there too. So we're just all these things keep track of what we got going on. And then you can start to kind of see these patterns eventually as more information gets in place. So you can kind of get an idea visually, like, all right, so why is there one here, you know, specifically? Then you can kind of focus on your own theories and things like that. Okay, So this is Yukon. So that is the very event that we're talking about, that picture, right? In real time. This is the original report. Okay. I ordered the takedown of an unidentified object that violated Canadian airspace. NORAD command shot down the object over the Yukon. Canadian and U.S. aircraft were scrambled, and a U.S. F-22 successfully fired at the object. I spoke with President Biden this afternoon. Canadian forces will now recover and analyze the records of the object. Thank you to NORAD for keeping the watch over North America. So that's all there. And then the President Biden's call with Prime Minister Trudeau was also there. For those of you who didn't know, earlier today, President Biden spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau on the unidentified unmanned object in North American airspace. The object was closely tracked and monitored by North American Aerospace Defense Command, which is NORAD, over the last 24 hours, and the president has been continually briefed by his national security team since the object was detected. Out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of their militaries, President Biden and Prime Minister Trudeau authorized it to be taken down. President Biden authorized a U.S. fighter aircraft assigned to NORAD to conduct the operation, and a U.S. F-22 shot down the object in Canadian territory and in close coordination with Canadian authorities. The leaders discussed the importance of recovering the object in order to determine more details on its purpose of origin. President Biden and Prime Minister Trudeau commanded NORAD and U.S. Northern Command strong and effective partnership and agreed to continue their close coordination to detect, track, and defend our airspace. And then, of course, Canadian Defense Minister Anita Anand on February 11th says, today, at the direction of the Prime Minister, aircraft assigned to NORAD has successfully took down this high-altitude airborne object at approximately 3:41 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. To the best of our knowledge, this was the first time the NORAD operation has downed an aerial object. The object was flying at an altitude of approximately 40,000 feet, had unlawfully entered Canadian airspace, and posed a reasonable threat to safety or civilian life. The object was down approximately 100 miles from the Canada-United States border over Canadian territory in central Yukon. So this point is specifically where it went down. I did some digging. Okay. So that's exactly where it went down, if you guys are looking for it. In collaboration with our partners, including recovery operations, are now underway and will be supported by the Canadian Armed Forces, yes, in conjunction with the RCMP. This coordinated operation will allow a further investigation into this object. We have no further details about the object at this time, other than it appears to be a small cylindrical object. We will make sure that the analysis is thorough, and it should not be prudent of me to speculate on the origins of the object at this time. Now, if we were to go CTV Otis, let me see if I can find the news article again real quick. Here we go. This is the image of the object that we were just reading about. So in February, when this all went down, a month later, they had this picture. They had this stuff. They just did not release it. If you read the CTV article, the explanation is essentially that they were worried that it would confuse people because there was a lot of crap going on in the United States. No offense. Sorry, not sorry. That if we had put this out at the time, it more than likely would be considered UFO and get swallowed up into all that other stuff. So this is a good thing and a bad thing. If it's not, we don't want to confuse the people, but they're also withholding information. So when you're trying to balance the trust with the Canadian government or any government, try to acknowledge that, in this particular case, this assessment to withhold the information is completely valid when you understand the scenario and the way that people are. But we still get the information. We'll get it a little bit later. Why? Because UFO stuff has calmed down in the media, right? The only thing that's big and famous are for those in the small circle that understand what's going on in this network. But as far as media goes, it's done. It's squashed. The next thing that's going to get on the media more than likely will be Canada's Sky Project report, which is due anytime. It's the fall. They promised us in July. Now they said the fall. Still waiting to figure that out. I submitted all my evidence and all my reports to that too. So I'm hoping I get a little bit of credit from that, or that some of my stuff are in those reports. But who knows? Everybody is probably who's been working on this stuff has submitted to that, so we'll see. Hopefully, it'll be something well-rounded by the time we get it. But it's more than likely going to be what we call a nothing burger. All right, guys. I'm running out of things to talk about, so I need some questions for those that are still in the audience. I really do need you guys. Otherwise, I'm going to end the show a little bit early. I don't know if I can do that or not, but I'll do it and ask for forgiveness. Let me see. I got another case. I can ramble on a little bit just in case. But please talk to me. I like feedback. Kind of missing being the host on Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, to be completely honest sometimes, but that's kind of how I've been feeling these days. But Danny is doing a bang-up job doing that, and Chris is doing a great job producing. But I need some people. Come on. I need some guests. Maybe I'll get some guests on the show. We were having a conversation about that actually earlier today, about the idea of getting some experiencers on. But I gotta figure some stuff out. Okay, so this another declassified document, or actually this is a statement from NORAD about another event that happened February 14th. So Russian aircraft entering air defense to do a routine thing. So I've been trying to keep track of these declassified events for a few reasons, because I want to see these patterns, because if I do get some UFOs in these areas, then perhaps that's more military. I'm getting an idea of where the military crafts hang out versus the civilian crafts, and you can kind of plot that stuff together to see what's more probable. And show the new to episode. Chris says, can you show the new to episode? What are you talking about? Chris, please explain yourself. I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, let me see here. This is aerial activity. Do I have time for this one? Oh no, those two are good. I need time to explain those ones. So we're not doing those ones. I don't have enough time. See if I can clear up these plots around here. So NORAD took down high altitude air objects. So that's another one that they took down. So here's another location of where those got shot down. Okay. Zoom out here. In Alaska. So you start to see this pattern here, right? So it's hard to tell on this map. This is what a Mercator map. This Cater map or Mercator map. Can't remember what it is. Anyways, this map, is typical for Google Maps and all this other stuff. But and you would see this map on a globe, but it makes it really hard for you to actually visualize and accept the possibility that these objects have traveled from China, because China is over here. And then you would imagine that it floated somewhere around here and yada, yada, came in and came through this path and done so like that. If this alleged balloon belongs to China, that information I don't think is available on who owns this balloon yet. Now, just as much could have come from Russia. As you see this, it very well could come from anywhere. Something that's very interesting to see, and a lot of people don't realize this, and it's important to know, and it's easier to see when you're using a flat map, I should say, flat Earth map. But a lot of people think that Russia is just going to travel all the way through these things before they come to America. And a lot of people realize that they can just travel just as far this way. It's a little bit closer. And when you look at it here on the very top, especially where this plot is, the border, there's a line right here between the United States and Russia. I think there's only, 100 kilometers between here and here. So this spot is heavily, heavily protected by military. But Russia can easily come over this way, just as much as America can easily go this way. I don't know if Google will even show me a flat Earth map because they block everything. Or they make fun of it, as they make fun of everything. But then if we were to look at this Gleason's map, just as a quick example, can I zoom in? Let me see here. Come on now. Right. I'm going to have to do this way. Oh, yeah. This is my mouse pad, also my coffee maker. But looking at it from the top view, you can really see how close Russia and America is. So I just want you to consider some things a little bit differently. And this map essentially is the map that goes on the globe. For you globe people, this is the same map that goes on your ball. Okay? All this is simply taking that paper mache off of the globe and looking at it in a way that makes sense so everybody can understand war and all these other things. But I'm gonna end that there. All right, I got some questions. Chris says, next episode. Yes. Okay, Chris. So the next episode, let me show you here. I think it's probably better to, I gotta find these fucking things. Which way are we going? This way? Nope. I think it's Clam Lake. Yeah, was it this one? Yeah. This is it, Chris. This one right here. I'm going to put the link. No, I can't put the link. So we're going to talk about Clam Lake as a Canadian event. This is a big event. There's like so many reports on this. So this will take up the full episode. So here you go, Chris. There's that. We'll talk about that next week. All right, Jillian, finally, question. Thank you. Have you ever talked to Brett Lauder? No, I have not. It's great to talk to. Wrote a couple books on contact. Let me look him up. The name does sound familiar. Brad Lauder. There's multiple ways to spell that name, so maybe I'm spelling it wrong here. Blue Eder. I say UFO. Will it come up? The UFO Hunter's Guide, Sighting Abductions, Hotspots. This guy from UK. Am I ringing a bell? Is that the right guy? Let me know. I'm not familiar with that work, but I'll look into it. It's great to talk to you. Wrote a couple books on contact. Awesome. Also, have you talked to Tom Kenyon? No, I have not. Who is Tom Kenyon? I don't know that person either. Tom Kenyon. I should know who Tom Kenyon is. Sounds familiar. Golden Orb? TikTok? Maybe. Oh. Oh, that's a good question, Jill. What do you think of the Estes method used for investigation? So if I remember correctly, that is a spirit box, I think, for paranormal. You're really testing me here. It's been a while. I'm going to assume, I would like to assume that I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure. Final answer, spirit box investigation or sensory deprivation of some sort, right? When you put on a mask to cover your eyes and things like that. So what do I think? So I like some of the newer versions where they are blocking out outside sounds, and they're blocking out their vision, so their senses can be heightened and they can completely focus, and then they're listening to stuff. Sometimes we're using an SLR machine that's apparently can say words and things like that. The equipment is neat and it's cool, and I see the effort in trying to do their best not to contaminate the evidence. I think that process, especially in comparison to what we were talking about today, is on the higher end of getting it right. No, I know you spelled it right. I didn't know if I was correct in saying that method is referring to spirit box. I just wanted to fact check myself on that. Yeah, if I remember correctly. Oh, you're talking about the other guy. Might be lagging. Okay, so the spirit box itself, it's tricky because it's a piece of technology. It emits electromagnetic fields, so EMF. It pulls in a radio frequency. It also sends out a radio frequency. So I would say put it in a Faraday cage, which would protect or reduce the possibility of outside manipulation. But I think the method overall is pretty good. But it can be faked. So I'm trying to remember. I'm pretty sure there was a huge hoax using one of those methods once. So it really depends on who uses it. It really depends on how it's being used. So if we're talking specifically about spirit boxes, how would I use it? Well, the spirit box itself is designed to have radio frequencies play in order to pick up sounds and continuously scan what's already there. Okay, someone else does ask questions, and then somebody else listens. I think yeah, perfect. Jill, you did mention that. Good. Yes. Okay, so I am on the right thing here. So that idea of having two people investigate and being completely separate will corroborate the evidence, because the person asking the questions cannot hear or see the visualizations. So that method is good. It's like pareidolia. If I see something in the cloud that looks a certain way, as soon as I say, hey, that cloud looks like a turtle, you're going to look up and you're going to be looking for a turtle. And then your brain will put pieces together to show you a turtle. But if I say, hey, look up there, tell me what you see, when I know inside my heart that I see a turtle, I think is a turtle, I'm going to keep that to me. And I ask you what you see, and you're like, oh my God, I see a turtle. Then there's a little bit of validation there. It's like, wow, how do they, do we have a similar imagination? Then you get more people, hey, look at that. What do you see? Oh, I see a chicken. I see a dog. I see this, then you get this variety. That is a better way than to say, hey, listen to this EVP, listen to this sound that I think this person's saying, green needle. Remember that phenomenon, right? Whatever you read is what you heard, but the audio clip didn't change. Your brain processes differently. So this spirit box Estes method is similar in that approach. Okay. So you have somebody asking the questions while you have somebody listening to the results. Now, that on a human element is good. The machine and technical element is tricky because the spirit box is designed to pick up signals, and you can't really pinpoint the signal it picked up. You can't discern whether or not somebody said this word on the radio or whatever, but there are ways that you can manipulate it. I think Ghost Stop has a spirit box that allows you to play the radio frequencies backwards. So the chances of you having a legible word front ways or read properly while it's being scanned backwards are low. So if you do get a hit, that kind of reinforces that. But there are words that sound like other words when you say them backwards. We just don't know it because we talk forwards, right? I'm just trying to give you like this much information. Would I use a spirit box? They're noisy as hell. They're distracting. They require people to be there. And because I think that people are psychogenic and they have the ability to manipulate the same space and time that they're trying to investigate, that there's contamination there when using people. So if I were to do this appropriately to eliminate the possibility of contamination, final answer, I think I would take people out of the house. I would set up the equipment. I would set up the cameras to record and document, and everybody gets the F out. Ask the questions, tell them the answer inside, see what happens. Because if we are energetic beings, with a controlled thought, we have the ability to manipulate these objects. If we're all in the same room and we say, hey, show us a sign that, blow out this candle, let us know we're here. And you have a ghost tour, a group of 30 people. Some of them are intuitive. Some of them are intuitive knowing. So they'll enhance it because they really want to have that validation. And then you have some intuitives that don't know that they have the power, but they're contributing to it because their belief is strong and they want to see something. And then all of that manifestation combined into one, you get a result, and the machine is triggered, and you believe it to be ghosts. When it's very possible, it could be us. So we can't forget the human thing. Those are the flags for me, but there is a way to approach this method and different things like that while taking those things in consideration, but you have to document it. You have to make a report. There's a lot of red tape that needs to go through. You can't just go into this place and say, I did this and I used this machine and then I heard this and then all these things happen, because that's a cool experience. Really cool. It's a good story. And you witnessed it. But as far as explaining to the rest of the world all these things that are going on, the evidence needs to be better. You put some, and that's what I'm fighting for. I'm advocating for better evidence. So A for effort for those who use those machines. There are better machines than the ones they provide, but I'll get into that another time. Maybe I'll have a themed episode on that. But that was good. Thank you so much, Jillian. That was a good distraction to let me talk about the things I like to talk about instead of reading stuff. So if you want to start the show off with questions, that would be very helpful. She says it's good to run the SB7 on the highest scan backwards. Yeah, that's a neat. That one's loud though. That one's so loud. Then you get into these boxes that say random words or they spell things, and I don't know. I have to really sit down and play with these things. But when I get in, I'm not into that part yet because there's other ways to collect the evidence. And but if that works for you, then it works for you. All right, but I got to end this show. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully that wasn't boring for some of you guys, but you get what you get. I'm just talking about what I've been doing. So here we go. All right, so thank you for tuning into this episode of The Skeptical Sleuth. We are broadcasting live in the United Public Radio Network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We're also broadcasting live on social media, and the show was brought to you by the Experiential Support Association. Okay. And for today, as we honor truth and reconciliation, let us remember that one lie, yes, one lie is enough to question all truths. I say that all the time, but it's relevant today. Think about that. One lie is enough to question all truths. Okay. Thanks for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky, and as always, aid the world. Peace.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. She's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, May.
Wow!
really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
Oh, I'm still on the air. Hi. Goodbye, everybody.